Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 24th April 2017. The first article, towards complete justice at last. So this has been written in the context of Babri Masjid, the demolition and judicial stagnation and delays then after. Now remember this point. Justice is the final measure of power. It means that every society can remain stable only if the justice prevails. Or any power given to any institution in a democracy is ultimately to ensure the justice for all. And this justice not only shall be provided, it also shall seem to be provided. So, in this context, if the justice is not being done on time, then the justice is being denied to the people. So, this is what is exactly has happened in the case of Babri Masjid demolition. There are many procedural issues which have led to the stagnation of the progress of this particular case. In this context, we have to remember Article 142 of the Constitution. It provides extraordinary powers to the Supreme Court to make the justice to stand or prevail. According to that, the Supreme Court can issue any order or any decree so to make the justice to prevail. So it has come from a maxim from Latin, that is, let the justice be done though the heavens fall. Let the justice be done though the heavens fall. This is what is the meaning of it. So you can't remember that Latin maxim. Just remember, let justice be done though the heavens fall. So based on this, the Supreme Court has transferred all the cases related to Babri Masjid demolition to Lucknow bench, and the bench has to deliver the justice as quick as possible. It has to undertake the regular hearings. That is what is the Supreme Court's order in this case is. Beyond that, whatever the technical details which are being spoken here, these are not of much use for us for this examination. Racism and reality in Japan. Now, Japan, China, and Korea. So these are historically connected to each other. So in this context, there is a sense of uniqueness and exceptionalism among Japanese. So this sense of exceptionalism, it makes them to discriminate against Chinese and the Koreans. Added to that, today we have this era of fake news, propaganda, and this is also instilling a sense of fear, sense of hatred among different groups. But Japan is facing a kind of an economic stagnation today. The major reason is the demographic change. In the post-Second World War era, the demographic dividend was the benefit to create the Japanese miracle. But the same loss of this demographic benefit, it is leading to stagnation in economy. So in this context, greater integration with the human resources of the world is the way forward for Japan. But however, this sense of exceptionalism of oneself is a major reason for their cultural prejudice against the others, which may not do good for Japan in the long run. That is what this article talks about. Tale of two sections. So it is about two sections of the Indian Penal Code, that is 295A and 153A. So this 295A, it states that any person who has made any deliberate or malicious act intended to outrage religious feelings is a punishable offense. So in this context, it is quite misused to express or to give a sense that any comment has led to their loss of their dignity of the people. So in this context, it is widely misused against the celebrities. Section 153, it clearly states that the enmity or any action that is intended to promote enmity is a punishable offense. So in this context, section 153A is being used to regulate the freedom of speech and expression. So this 295A and 153A of IPC are very much misused. So in this context, we need to specifically and narrowly define these sections of IPC so that this misuse can be brought down. That is what this article talks about. And next is at war with itself. You know that Afghanistan is war devastated, and United States troops are being pulled out by the President Obama. And after this pullout, the instability has increased further, and the international community has stopped providing for the necessary support or aid to the Afghanistan. This has led to the resurgence of Taliban again. The recent attack on the army battalion, which has led to deaths, more than 100 deaths, is a clear example of this. So, not just these factors, even internal factors are also responsible. The first is the national unity government which was in place, it did not work in cohesion with each other. And second is the peace talks initiated with Taliban through mediation of Pakistan did not go forward. And at the same time, the armed forces, state institutions were not being put in place even today. So, because of these weaknesses, the state structures are becoming more vulnerable to Taliban attacks. So, the way forward for the country is to strengthen its institutions. That's what is this article talks about. And then the credibility of the institutions is also very much important. And all the institutions of the state in Afghanistan suffer from corruption charges. So, to the extent the state institution shall be built in the atmosphere of honesty and integrity, that's what we can stress upon. The line between fiction and fact. So, this is about false news or fake news, whatever we call it as. We have discussed this article many a times, but I'm going to repeat it again for you. So, today, internet gave a larger space for fringe groups or groups that are promoting hatred, isolationism across the people. So, in this context, social media has become a medium to take forward this. So, the social media has taken away the distinctions between news and propaganda and private opinion and a public proclamation, etc. And the closed loop circularity, making the people to hear the news again and again, is dividing the people like never before. So that's why hatred is gaining a greater space because of the closed loop circularity of the social media. So the way forward is the social media has to be regulated one or the other way. If not, the trust of the people on the mainstream media will be soon lost. And then the democracies across the world will start facing a crisis. And then let's go to the front page. The step up spending on infrastructure, PM tells the states. Now, after Niti Ayog Governing Council meeting has held. So now understand who are the members of this governing council. So 27 chief ministers have presented to the meeting, and these people have discussed about a long-term plan for India, around 15 years plan for India into the future, which has been coordinated by Niti Ayog. So in this context, one of the issues which has come for discussion is, after the 14th Finance Commission recommendations, the center has given more untied funds to the states, and the center has cut down on various central sponsored schemes which the states were not ready to accept. That is what is the issue which has been discussed over here. And the next is, the French elections are over. So there are two rounds in the French elections. In the first round, any person who intends to contest can contest the elections. In the second round, the election will be between two people who have gained the largest votes in the first round. So, Mr. Emmanuel Macron and then Marine Le Pen, these are expected to get into the second round. You know that Mr. Macron is pro-European Union, pro-business. Ms. Marine Le Pen, she is a far-right nationalist and anti-European Union, anti-immigrant. These two people are going to fight. If Marine Le Pen comes to power, obviously it will be a death blow to European Union. Now, let's come to the revision towards a complete justice at last. So, remember one point, justice is the final measure of power. If you understand this statement, you can understand many issues, human rights violations, communalism, justice, everything you can understand. Justice is the final measure of power. Racism and the reality in Japan. So, an inward-looking attitude and then a sense of exceptionalism, they create prejudices against the other cultures and communities. The Japanese have to overcome the same. And then, let's go to the next page. Let's go to the next page, that is, tale of two sections. Law has to be specific and has to be narrowly defined. But section 295A and 153A of Indian Penal Code, It has very broad provisions that can be used to curtail the freedom of voice or can also be used to harass the various people. So these need to be specifically stated. And at war with itself, it is about the increasing attacks by Taliban on state establishments in Afghanistan. Virtually, Taliban today can attack any part of the Afghanistan. That shows the weakening of the state, and it is the time where the international organization shall work towards strengthening of the state in Afghanistan. And then let's go to the next page, fake news. So in this fake news, remember, these have crossed the boundary, or these have removed the boundary between, what are they, the news and also the propaganda, and they have emitted the boundaries between public opinion and private comment. So in that way, the social media is trying to, or is making the people to lose the confidence on the mainstream media. That's what is the article which we talk about, which we spoke about. Now the next is French have won the election in French elections. Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron are expected to fight, and Australia is also expecting a logistics exchange memorandum of agreement. But India said let's the agreement with US get stabilized, then we can think about it. And Turkey's President Erdogan is about to visit to India. In this context, Cyprus expects India to play a role in talking to Mr. Erdogan on unifying the North and South Cyprus. The Prime Minister talks to improve the expenditure on infrastructure. And finally, and one ministry for transport is being mooted. It means there will be one ministry together for railways, surface transport, aviation, and shipping. So it is expected to bring better coordination and connectivity in the country. So these are the articles which are important for today. Thank you very much and all the best.